What did you think of that address?
Well, it came as no surprise to many of us who've been watching this president with not really great attention anymore because we know who he is. And today proved just that. In his wide ranging speech, he went back to basics, the basics of who he was in the first term, somebody that really spoke plainly and with very crude language about his enemies. He started with the roast of former President Joe Biden, even invoking the name of former President Jimmy Carter, who died at the age of 100, saying that Jimmy Carter died a happy man because President Biden, in some words, he said President Biden was the worst president in history. He, of course, tipped his hat to conflicts abroad, the geopolitical tension that, of course, is defining a lot of the news headlines here domestically. He talked about Ukraine and how they received loans from Europe while we gave Ukraine so much money for nothing. Really unsurprising speech in many ways, but quite bold and really spoke to the base, which is where he was at today.
Well, indeed. And he went through a list of item after item, domestically and regarding foreign matters, of things he had achieved already. That did receive a rapturous reception, didn't it?
Well, it's also one thing that we know to expect from Trump is that he will bring up again and again how he won this election fair and square, which is quite rich of him, given that he did not want to concede when he lost in 2020. In fact, I wrote down this most surprising quote when he came off saying, and which was actually false. He said 77 million votes is actually much more than that, because despite that, they cheated like HE double hockey sticks. It was just too big to rig. He does not want to deal in facts at times because he knows the audience loves that. The audience there assembled at the Conservative Political Action Conference also took part in a straw poll. And in that straw poll, they gave sitting President Trump, again, now in his second term, with that space in between, the 47th president, a 99% approval rating. Really just one of those moments where you have to sit back and say, we've never seen anything like this in modern American presidential history.
Rina, you're still a registered Republican voter. You're determinedly not a Trump fan. Is that a pretty lonely place to be right now? What is the future for Republicans like you?
Well, for people like me, you have a choice, right? You can either say, I want nothing to do with the sitting president and I want to fight for something else. And that's maybe the road that I'm seeing a lot of my peers taking. We root for the country. Do I root for the success of President Trump? Absolutely. Because I think that's the patriotic thing to do for anybody sitting in office. There has been a wide swath of folks, though, largely on the left, that continue to say they have to do this resistance. Be the resistance. And I say to them, it's been a long 8 years. We really longer than that. And we're coming up on a decade for many of us who fought Trump since he came down the golden escalator. I say to those people, now's the time for persistence. Focus on what is possible. For me, I'm still right of center. Unfortunately, we like to believe we have a multi-party system here in these United States. It's just not true. The independents, though they are growing in number, people largely have to choose a side. I find myself to be still center right in my political ideology, though I have a lot of problems with how national Republicans don't want to decry such things, such as a not